Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Si necesitan traducción al español, hay audífonos. Ahí tenemos una traductora simultánea. Si quieren hacer una intervención, nada más hablen. Tenemos micrófono y vamos a traducir sobre la marcha, ¿no? Pero para la gente que no tiene mucho inglés, ya la tenemos. So there is Spanish translation simultaneous. And so if you hear someone speaking in the room, that's what's going on. I want to thank you all for coming here. It's not easy to get through that security, and there are many things to do around the UN and away from it today, so thanks for coming. We have this tribunal, this day, has been a long time in the planning. We are with the Climate Justice Alliance, which links over 35 organizations across the country and has many links with organizations outside the country. We work mainly with communities that are environmental justice communities, communities on the front line of climate change, of pollution, of the kinds of things that are particularly aggravated as things get worse. Very much, we'll be hearing today from people who are living near fracking, who are living where they're drilling oil, who are living near the pipelines, near the tar sands. And they're going to talk from their experience, about their lives, about their communities. We also have today a panel of judges or commentary. In Spanish, we have a great word that doesn't work quite as well in English, which is comentaristas. So these folks have a great deal of experience at human rights, at labor rights, and environmental justice, and migration, and they're going to be here. They are people who've been working for years on those things. So they're here to help us frame, in a larger context, the stories we're going to be hearing from people who are living these experiences. So we're very glad to have them. There will be some more coming, and periodically we're going to hear from them. At the end of the day, we'll probably work on a statement together. So right here we have Lisa Garcia. She's with Earth Justice, formerly with EPA, and with a great deal of environmental justice experience. Next to her is Jeremy Brecker, who is a person who's written a great deal about climate change. And what's your group? It's the
Labor Network for Sustainability.
Labor Network for Sustainability, which is really important because we know with every bone in our body that it's possible to have jobs and clean air, and that's our main saying in our community: good jobs, clean air. We know it's possible, and we're going to insist on it. We should all be, as a world, smart enough to make those two things work. So Jeremy is going to be here. He's done a lot of writing on climate change. Next to him is Julia Olson, who works with, has a project going called Our Children's Trust, and we hope that when you make your commentary, you'll tell us more about that project. And there's also representatives, at least one of her plaintiffs is here. And next to her is Rex Valera, who's from the Philippines. He's from the Global Coalition on Migration, who also brings a wealth of knowledge about climate change and the special effects it has on people, or the causes of people's migration and the effects on them. So without further ado, we're going to start the day. We'll be hearing testimony in groups, comments from the judges. Make it clear what's on trial today are the corporations, the governments, the UN, the bodies that are doing nothing. What's on trial today are the false promises that they keep making to us about all the different rigmarole you hear about, replacements of forests with carbon trading, all of those catchwords that actually mask corporations making money on the very climate change that they are causing. So we'll hear that over and over again, and one thing to keep in mind. And I'd like to invite up now Julia Beatty from the Center for Social Inclusion, who's going to talk a little bit more about what we're up against. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see your faces. How many folks feel very energized about the events that have happened over the past couple of days? Who was at Flood Wall Street yesterday? How was that? It was amazing, right? And that's what these last few days and these many events that the people have brought together are really about. It's about taking back our communities, lifting up our communities, and driving community-led solutions spearheaded by frontline communities, communities of color, indigenous communities, about what change should look like that's not corporate-driven, that is about justice, is justice-centered. And that's why we're here today. So the People's Tribunal, maybe some of you are familiar with this kind of process. Over there at the UN, they're having these conversations, and people like us are not part of those, right? People like us have been consistently, traditionally, and historically excluded from these kinds of conversations, and only to our detriment. So today, the People's Tribunal is about us coming together, us coming up with our solutions and putting those at the forefront, and demanding that those be the levers of change. So today you'll be hearing from many different folks throughout the community, here in this country and beyond our borders. This is about global solidarity. This is about uplifting all of our struggles together as one. And it's about putting forth again those issues that are important to us and those solutions that we know are right for our people. So you'll hear different folks testifying on different issues. They'll be talking about who their community is, who they represent, what's been happening in their communities in terms of climate change, and the work that they're doing around energy democracy, around pushing forward for climate justice, around sovereignty, around rights for indigenous people and indigenous communities, about rights for people of color, around poor folk, lifting those folks up. And then we'll be also hearing them talk about what should be happening and how we all can continue to move forward these actions for change. So without further ado, we want to bring up our first testifier. Is that you again, Cynthia?
This is a great honor for me because I'm going to calling up two gentlemen from my community that live there. We work together. We're often together. We're in it every step of the way. So I'd like to call Felipe Hernandez to come on up. Both of you can come up together, but Felipe is going to go first. He's going to talk about Ironbound Newark, New Jersey.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Felipe Hernandez, and I live in Ironbound, Newark, New Jersey. Okay. My family moved here because rent is cheaper than New York. Our community has a lot of air pollution and other kinds of pollution. We have noise pollution because of the airplanes from Newark Liberties International Airport. Also, the biggest port on the East Coast is in our neighborhood. All the wealth from the port goes out of the city, even though the port is in city lands. Our two biggest environmental problems are the incinerator and the polluted Passaic River. The river is contaminated with dioxin. They discovered the dioxin in the river around the same time they proposed the incinerator. The original proposal was for 3 incinerators, and the people of the community fought back, and they only built 1. The incinerator is sending out methane, lead, mercury, dioxin, and other chemicals into the air, so that makes it worse. Also, dioxin causes cancer. Last fall, we had a march to the incinerator with kids. That was the first civil disobedience act I ever participated in. A lot of Manhattan's garbage is brought to our neighborhood and burned in our incinerator. I worry that it's already too late to stop climate change. Finding these companies that pollute is not going to help because they have enough money to pay those fines. The companies always find a loophole to do whatever they want, and they give money to keep people quiet. We need jobs that will lead to a cleaner energy future because we are the experts and we have the solution. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laquan Thomas, and I'm from Newark, New Jersey. All right? Yes, absolutely. I want to say that how the climate is affecting us because I grew my whole 30-some years of growing up and we never had a hurricane. but we had Hurricane Sandy, and it caused a lot of damage in our community. We are a poor community, and we were not shown on TV compared to the richer communities. And we have not gotten much aid for recovering from Sandy. I am an urban farmer. I raise chickens. I grow lots of fruits, organic fruits and vegetables. We grow our fruits and vegetables without burning fossil fuels. Compared to the industrial food system, which burns fossil fuels and contributes to the climate change. What's happening with the climate, with the fossil fuels, the incinerate, all the trucks coming through the neighborhood from Port Norg is unhealthy for us and the children in our community. We are directly affected by climate change because we live in Ironbound in the East Ward of Newark, New Jersey, which is polluted in so many ways. We got the Passaic River, which was polluted by dioxin from a chemical called Agent Orange that they made during the war. All these corporations that set up in our community, none of us get the jobs. And we've got the Passaic River, which, I got to that part, excuse me, right? We got a river where people used to swim and fish in, and they weren't able to do that since the early 1960s. If anybody familiar with the Passaic River and what's going on in Newark, New Jersey with our river, and we fought, and the EPA demanded that we get a full cleanup, which was great for us. Yes. Okay. We are a frontline community, which means any disaster, we get it first, and we get it worse than anyone. And the kids growing up here with all the pollution, the trucks, everything that we going through, like dioxin, all that causes cancer, asthma. It's killing us slowly. We are dying slowly from all of this. I work with kids. We teach them how to build fruits and vegetables from seed, and just to watch our food that we eat grow from seed is amazing. The kids love it, and we does all this without burning fossil fuels compared to the industrial food system. Excuse me for a second. Our goal is to grow fresh, organic fruits and vegetables for our community. And with the climate off, it's going to be hard to grow food. For example, if the fruit trees blossom out of season, as it's happening now, we will not get no fruit later. Everybody agree with me? Huh? Okay, I ain't have enough time to really go over this like I wanted to, but y'all bear with me, please. All right, New Jersey, we was known as the Garden State. We need to get back to that. I didn't know anything about environmental or climate justice until I started working with our neighborhood group. I encourage people to recycle and compost, because otherwise a lot of the things that we can recycle and compost, we send to the incinerator and it burn all these toxins in the air that we have to breathe. That is very unhealthy. I am trying to get everybody to know what we are doing and understand that we contribute to what's going on with the environment and climate change. I feel it's my job to make people aware that corporations are causing a lot of the climate change, and it doesn't matter to them because they are making money. And I am going to keep fighting climate change. This is part of my life now, and we want and demand climate justice now. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have a sister community, and it's in Brooklyn, Sunset Park, Uprose. I would like to call on our sister and my tocaya, Cynthia Moises, to testify.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story with you. All of you come from places where you fight for justice. where the decisions made in your country determine how you live and whether you have food to feed your families. I am a Puerto Rican woman born and raised in Brownsville, Brooklyn. In some ways, Brownsville is not that different from a town in a developing country. We have high rates of unemployment, incarceration, low levels of education attainment, and a community with health disparities that range from diabetes to cancer. Our young people drop out of school early and every day. We have to deal with societal pressures that make some of us give up. We are also surrounded by environmental burdens that don't exist in white communities. I come from a home with all those challenges, but my family took care of each other, and all of my sisters, including myself, made it through college. Thank you. I share this experience with you today because the decisions made in our country have affected many generations of our people, and now those decisions are affecting me. Working for an organization that builds community power helps me address the systemic ways in which we are all oppressed. Climate change is one of those issues that affect, as you know, every aspect of life. I have worked for 2 years to bring young people of color together to learn about climate justice and to learn how to address issues of mitigation, adaptation, and resilience in their communities. Through my work, I realize young people will and do get involved when they feel respected, when we feel we are a part of intergenerational leadership, and when our involvement makes a difference. Working intergenerationally gives young people the opportunity to exercise leadership. It allows us to learn from our mentors, but it also allows our mentors to learn from us. It is important to move away from this top-bottom mentality of leadership and strive towards distributing power and knowledge horizontally. There is room for more than one leader. Uprose is my political home, and the climate justice movement is my family. It is the place where I know I make a difference. It is a place where I get to learn, grow, get support, and opportunities for leadership. It is a place where my community changes its landscape, its reality. I am honored to have the opportunity to be here and to learn from and to stand in solidarity with you as we work together to create a better life for all our people. It seems like climate change is too big to handle, but I believe we can as long as we do it together. Thank you.
It gives me great pleasure to represent a comrade in arms, to represent a colleague, to represent someone from a community that's close to ours, not so geographically close, but we share a number of things, including we're suing the same people. And I can say that, right? We're suing the Coast Guard, we're suing the Port Authority, and so I'd like to bring up Beryl Thurman from Staten Island, and she's going to tell you about that.
Good morning, everyone. As Cynthia said, my name is Beryl Thurman. I'm the Executive Director and President of the North Shore Waterfront Conservancy of Staten Island. Okay. And most people know of Staten Island, but they only know of Staten Island from the standpoint of either Fresh Kills or the Staten Island Ferry. And a lot of people for a very long time did not know that Staten Island had an environmental justice community located on the North Shore. There's about 70,000 people that live along the waterfront of the North Shore. And we were impacted by Irene, and we were impacted by Sandy. But that did not make it in the media as some of the other communities did. We have been looking at our waterfront for a very long time in terms of trying to get it remediated. We want our people to have access to the waterfront, but we want that access to be safe. So one of the things that came about that brought us into a different type of awareness in terms of climate change and climate change justice was Katrina in New Orleans. And I watched that just like many of you did. And we saw people standing on the roofs of their homes if they could, begging for help from our government. And I said to myself, you know what? we're going to be in the same position, and this is in 2005. So our waterfront has contaminants, the same as the 9th Ward in New Orleans. And our concern is those contaminants from old industrial uses would wash back towards the residential community, and our people, if they didn't drown, would be poisoned by those contaminants. We have contaminants on our waterfront from old industrial uses that literally go the gamut from A to Z. And one of the sites on our waterfront is a Manhattan Project site that is still radioactive after 70 years. And we have been begging to get that site cleaned up. Now, in 2009, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency came to us after we did our environmental justice booklet, and we identified over 21 sites with contamination issues, all in a flood-prone area, and they designated Staten Island's entire North Shore as being an environmental justice showcase community. We were 1 out of 10 nationwide. In addition, our children have very high lead levels in their blood. And there's only one other area in the city of New York where the children's lead levels have continued to be high, and that's a community in Queens. So, as Cynthia said, we're suing the U.S. Coast Guard and the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. And the lawsuit falls under NEPA, which stands for, put my glasses on, National Environmental Policy Act. Thank you, Lisa. And the other thing that we're doing is we also filed a complaint against the New York, New Jersey Port Authority under Title VI. And that's because the Port Authority has not recognized that the communities that they're affecting with the raising of the Bayonne Bridge are EJ communities, and that our people are having a difficult time. We already have high asthma rates. We have people who have cancer. We have people who have stress-related illnesses. And so the Port Authority came in and they continued doing the raising of the Bayonne Bridge. They started it in September, and they never stopped. They have continued affecting the people's quality of life of our community. So we're getting into a conversation now with the External Civil Rights Office of the EPA. And this, I'm going to read to you an email that I sent to them after they seemed to be hesitant in addressing our issues in terms of the Title VI civil rights complaint. First off, the person that I'm speaking with said that she wasn't feeling well, and I'm not going to mention her name because that wouldn't be nice, but I said to her, I am sorry to read that you are not feeling well, and I do hope that your illness passes quickly. I myself have been suffering from sleep deprivation due to noise, due to nonstop construction and loud noises in my community, as well as a constant feeling of choking at night and coughing, and consistently clearing my throat during the day from annoying tickles. In your email to my attorney, you asked if there were any other questions that I may have, and I do have a question. But before I ask my question, I need to tell you that I am furious with how this complaint is being handled by your office. There is an air of indifference that rivals that of the entity that we're complaining about. It has been a year since the Port Authority began construction work on the Bayonne Bridge, dropping lead paint chips throughout the neighborhood like breadcrumbs, alternating week to week through the neighborhood, cutting off the water to residents' homes for 8 hours a day for a week at a time, making it impossible for residents to bathe, wash clothes, or even flush their toilets. People on both sides of the bridges are complaining about not being able to sleep because of the noises at night, watching their life savings, which are their homes, being shaken to the point of walls and stairs separating and windows being cracked. Not to mention cleaning up dust and dirt constantly that comes into their homes from the construction site. The dust and dirt complaints sound like the kinds of complaints that people made during the Dust Bowl period. Bring it down. Okay. And slow down. Okay. People that already have life-threatening illnesses such as cancer, heart conditions, and asthma are beside themselves with worry because their lives have been turned upside down. And for what? For what, I ask you? You've held on to this complaint for 8 months, and all the while the people in my community have been hammered with adverse environmental impacts from the Bayonne Bridge construction project, as well as other cumulative impacts that exist in our community. Not too long ago, I was once told by the EPA that you all are first and foremost public servants, that your purpose is to help the people of this community by providing us with a safe environment to live in. We came to you for help, so my question is, what the hell are you doing to help us? Have you actually reached out to the Port Authority to discuss this complaint? And if not, do you plan to reach out to them about this complaint? Or is your only plan is to let the clock run out and leave us with nothing? Because if you tell me straight up that you're not going to do anything, I can live with that, because at least it's honest. But to give us false hope while we are choking in our sleep at night from whatever is in the air, that you are going to help us and then turn around and not do anything but pass the buck, that is unfair and cruel. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your immediate response. I come from a place where I grew up believing that our government was here for us, to work for us and not against us, to support its people and to find support for its people. And I believe in following the process. But when you have a process that is not living up to the expectation of the people, it's time for a change. Thank you. I didn't know I was supposed to answer questions, but at this point in time, we're still trying to arrange a conference call with this particular area of the EPA, and we asked that they please, talk to us tomorrow, which is Wednesday. We gave them an opening between 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and as of yet, we have not heard from them. Thank you.
So I'd like to call on our next speaker, a gentleman from Colorado. His name is Xiuhtexcal Martinez, and he is going to speak from the point of view of the Earth Guardians.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Xiuhtexcal, and I'm a 14-year-old indigenous environmental activist from Boulder, Colorado, and the youth director of an organization called Earth Guardians. Buenos días. Me llamo Xiuhtexcal, tengo 14 años y soy un activista del medio ambiente. I'm so honored to be here today, and it's really incredible to be a part of this amazing group of people. It makes me so happy because I see a lot of diversity in the room, because I feel like finally after 8 years, I've been involved in environmental activism since I was 6. That's when I first did my first climate change rally. That's when I first spoke politically. And so I feel like for the first time in history, people of all walks of life, of all colors, ethnicities, backgrounds, financial background, of all religions are finally starting to realize, this is one of the greatest issues we have ever faced. And it's not going to impact one person. It's going to impact every living person on this planet. So as an impact of that, we, as the people of this planet, the people that will be impacted, we are going to have to take action as every person on this planet. So I am from Boulder, Colorado, and back in my hometown, we were hit really bad with floods. We were hit really bad with drought and fires that ravaged the mountains and the forest that I loved. And so ever since I can remember, ever since I was a little kid, my family had taken me to the lakes, to the rivers, to the forests of Colorado. And, that's kind of where I grew up. That's kind of was my own personal culture, being raised in that community. And, so, because of climate change, we are seeing also the direct impacts of climate change, not at the extent of floods and tsunamis. We are seeing severe floods here in Colorado. Last September, I believe, we had the worst flood in the history of Colorado. And, they called it a 1,000-year flood because they'd never seen so much water. And we got more water in a few days, and I think it was a 3-day period than we had seen in an entire year. And for us and for the young people of Colorado, it was really intense because I feel like I'm seeing a pattern of how a lot of the more impoverished communities are not getting enough support. How like communities that I'm very, very close with are not getting enough support. And so climate change is not, a lot of people have this notion that it's about global warming, but the truth is it's about weather patterns all over the world that are shifting. Hot places are getting cold, cold places are getting hot. We're seeing floods where we never see floods. We're seeing droughts where we never see droughts. This is one of the greatest issues we have ever faced. And my generation, this generation, is going to be faced with the greatest impacts of climate change and future generations. So it gives me hope. It gives me hope to see people in this room It gives me hope to see them taking action. It gives me hope seeing people fight back and people waking up and becoming aware that, it's not just about being an activist. It's not just about wanting to save the planet or save the trees. It's about the human race. It's about our civilization. It's about coming together as one global community, united under this global hub of action. And I feel like this weekend is such a powerful demonstration of that, because we made history the other day. We had somewhere around 400,000 people marching through the streets of New York. How often do we see people like that standing up for their rights? Because, when you think about climate change, when you think about these environmental problems that we're facing, this is a human rights issue. Our political leaders are not doing their job to protect the people. They are violating our direct human rights to a healthy atmosphere, to clean water, to clean air. They are stealing the rights of the young people, of the children, of the adults, and of the elders of this world. And it's only going to get worse from here unless we take action now, unless we continue to grow and build this movement. So over the last few years, I've been traveling around the country into different parts of the world to help educate and inspire my generation, to show them that we can create healthy, sustainable resources. We can create healthy, sustainable projects in our own community around our passion, around the things that we love to do, whether it's rapping or dancing or photography. Because when young people can connect to something that they love to do and at the same time make a positive impact on their community, on the people of their community, it's incredible what we can do as a nation. And it was beautiful because just the other day, the young people were at the forefront of this march. They were at the front lines. I was out there with a lot of incredible indigenous young people, Hispanic young people, African American young people, white, Latino young people. And it was amazing just to see the diversity, because people are finally coming together in this fight for our survival, for the survival of the people. And, another incredible way that we are doing our best to get involved is holding our leaders accountable, because they have failed us. Their duty is to the people, is to protect us. And they have failed us. And that is evident because we have reached 400 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. And as we can see, we are spinning out of control. The leaders are saying 2 degrees. We'll stop at 2 degrees Celsius, and then we'll be okay. We're at 0.8 right now, and look what's happening. Is this the kind of world that we want to leave for our generation, for future generations coming into this world? As a 6-year-old learning about climate change and taking action, after I saw Leonardo DiCaprio's documentary, The 11th Hour, it's pretty intense seeing that the kind of world that you're going to be left with, the kind of world that I'm going to grow up in, is going to be one that is going to be ravaged by floods and hurricanes. That my own community, in my backyard, I have fracking wells. And, another huge problem locally is fracking. Is it contaminates the air, it contaminates the water. They're shooting millions of gallons of toxic water into the ground, and they're not cleaning up their mess. Because the natural gas industry, they don't care about the people. They don't care about the youth. They care about their welfare. They care about the money that they're making. And it's a serious issue for our generation. So if United Nations leaders, they come together from around the world and they put together binding legal agreement, great. We are 100% supportive of that. I would love to see that happen. But time and time again, we have seen world leaders come together at these huge United Nations meetings, conferences. I was at the Rio Plus 20 UN Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and they fail to take direct action to curb greenhouse gases, and it is destroying us. So if they take action, if Obama comes out and puts legal agreements to cap carbon, to cap greenhouse gases, great. But we're not going to sit by and wait for that to happen. Because each and every person watching right now, each and every person in this room, each and every person that marched through the streets of New York City this weekend has the power to change the world, because we're not going to wait. So it's one thing to talk about climate change, and it's another thing to take action. And it's incredible to see people in communities, people that a lot of times don't have support. I was lucky enough to have a really strong support system from my family, from my friends, from my community. But a lot of young people out there feel hopeless. A lot of young people out there feel like they are lost, like they don't know who they are, they don't know why they're here. And I'm not here to bring purpose to your life or tell you what to do. That's not my job. My job is to tell my story, to share what has inspired me, to share the good things that are happening, the solutions that we are creating in our communities. I'm a part of these lawsuits. that young people filed in all 50 states. We are suing our state and federal governments, and we're not asking for money. We're asking them to curb carbon dioxide emissions by a certain amount every year so we can get back to 350 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. We have all this incredible science done by Jim Hansen, and so this is all solid science, and this is young people standing up in their communities suing their state and federal governments, and it is creating a ripple effect, and something that an amazing friend of my audience over here, Julia, said, or actually not in the audience but on the panel. She said that throughout history in these marches, in these huge movements for our civil rights, these civil rights movements that we have seen throughout history, there has been people marching through the streets like we saw the other day, but there has also been young people taking lawsuits, filing suits against the highest levels of court. So I feel like it's an incredible balance that we have the ability to take with getting involved legally, young people getting involved politically, and marching through the streets, because we got to take concrete action right here, right now. And it starts with changing our lifestyles. It starts with doing the easy things, turning off the lights when we're not using them, biking and walking around. In a big city, we got a lot of access to public transportation. So there's a lot of solutions, and there's a lot of problems. But there's a lot of people on this planet that care. There's a lot of people on this planet that want to do something like myself. And so I have hope, because what better time to be born than now? Because the people on this earth right now, the people of my generation, the youth of this world, we get to rewrite history. We get to change the world. And in the face of the greatest issue we have ever faced as a human race, we are so lucky to be here, right now, because from here on out, we are creating the world we want to live in. We are creating the world we want our generation to live in, with healthier communities, with better education, with a greater awareness of how interconnected we are. My father raised me in the indigenous culture, and he taught me that all life is connected. Each and every one of us is connected by the Mother Earth that we are all come from. And so a lot of people might say that it's hopeless, might think that it's hopeless, that it was too late. But as long as hope is alive, and the people of the world and the youth of this world continue to fight, continue to struggle, continue to come out, continue to show up, continue to fight for their rights, for their civil rights, there will be a movement, and as long as there is a movement of the people, we cannot lose. Thank you.
So our next speaker is Mamadou Goita. He's from the Institute for Research and the Promotion of Alternatives in Development, and he has come from the country of Mali. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be with you this morning, just to talk about Africa in this global scene of fight against a problem that is now causing a lot of desperation and sorrows in the communities. In Africa, climate change is already causing major losses in food production. People may be speculating about the causes of this situation, but we all know that because of what is happening, because of some of the corporate actions in this continent, that already we are losing a lot in the food system and creating movement of people. But also, climate change is devastating lives of people. And among these people, you have many migrants, people moving from places to places because of lack of resources that they used to have, but that have been just taken from them by some corporations. Some of these names are today sounded in the continent as evils coming in the building. You have Total Health, Nigeria, polluting everything, spoiling people from the resources, creating big damages that contribute, we all know, to change what is going on. Companies like Rio Tinto, many Chinese companies with like Monsanto and Syngenta in the agricultural sector are the faces that are known today in our continent. Why? Because our state became the market, selling everything, and the market became the state, pushing to have policies that are in favor of opening the market, spoiling our communities from the resources, and making, like you can see in Chad, a whole lake dying and pushing millions of people out of their lands. And all these land grabbing actions taking place by corporations, showing that it's time for us to strategize globally. This is why the different social movements in Africa are working very closely with the international social movement, not only to make these things known by everybody, that people are dying, and even though people are dying, corporations are continue their awful actions, buying lands, polluting the air, polluting the soil, and pushing back people, and creating a sort of environment where you have to criminalize social movement facing their states. So regulating for us, making laws, and creating much more damage that we are in the continent. We all know what happened in Liberia and Sierra Leone a few years back. Why was it happening? Because these companies had interest in the resources that are in these countries. They have been continued to pollute the air, to pollute the soil, and to push back people to move from one country to another. Some of this community doesn't know where to go now because everywhere is a desperate situation. But beside all this, African social movements are working very closely, trying to find solutions. We have been part of different movements, and I'm here with the GCM group because of the migrant right issue that is forgotten from the debate has to be put in the agenda of all the discussion that we have today on climate change. We know that the solution that they are proposing, going through Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa, trying to spoil again the few resources that the communities have to corporations. The new alliance trying to push this awful approach of public and private partnership that is just trying to plot against the communities, taking them the resources. All this initiative on the grow that is pushing corporations to take our seeds, our lands, and all these kind of things. You go to Ethiopia today, you will find that more than 2 million hectares given to Chinese companies. You go to Mozambique, you will find that Brazil has more than 5 million hectares, exploiting today a bit about 2 million hectares. You go to my country in Mali, you will find different companies taking in a very fertile land space more than 865,000 hectares of land in a country where we say that there is desertification. So all this to show that it's time for us to stand up and say that enough is enough. This continent has been facing slavery, has been facing colonialism, has been facing adjustment programs, has been facing neoliberal policies. And now, even though people know that they are suffering and all the awful things in the world can be shown in this continent, now the last coup that they want to do is to take out also the resources, our air and our soil and our waters. So I think that there is time for us to stand up and then just to try to fight together and say enough is enough, that our war is not for sale and Africa is not for sale. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. Buenos días, mi nombre es Lisa Garcia. Bienvenidos todos a Nueva York. Welcome to New York and to these exciting days, as everyone was saying. So we're the comentarios or the judges, but that's used loosely. So one of the things that I have learned over the years working with communities and indigenous populations is that the people speak for themselves. So even though I've been given the title of judge. Basically, what I'm going to do is just wrap this up quickly using the voices of all the great, by the testimony that we heard earlier, which I find absolutely inspirational, and I thank each and every one of you for coming up here and sharing your unbelievable stories. So what I think we heard is that essentially, or unfortunately, across the world, what we have are frontline communities, frontline residents dealing with unbelievable impacts from decisions that are being made not by them themselves. And so the decisions are being made someplace else, and the people are bearing the brunt of those decisions. We heard that so many communities don't have access to river, to waterfront, and even when they do, they're contaminated waters, contaminated soils, excess pollution from incinerators, from trucks, from ports, odors, noise from airports. Do you want me to slow down? And now the impacts from climate events, floods, fires, droughts, land grabs, land destruction leading to migration of whole entire communities and people, and even death. But at the same time, or I should say, sorry, people beginning to ask themselves, where is the government? Who are these decision makers that are making decisions for all these communities? Where's the transparency? How can companies be allowed to operate this way? So what we've heard is a lot of problems, or evil is coming in some communities. And so really the goal from everybody that we heard is to reduce pollution, to reduce the impacts, to increase the health outcomes, better health outcomes instead of what's happening on the ground, to have good jobs, clean air, ways to get there. So I'm just going to quote a few of the things that I heard, because it's within this theme of the action that we see over the past few days. The fact is the communities and indigenous people and people of color have a lot of solutions. They recognize it's time for change. They have hope that we're taking action. And it's about coming together to stop the violation of civil rights and human rights. Enough is enough. We have voices. We can all be leaders. Working intergenerationally, we can all be leaders. We can be educated and make a change. Our goal, I like the get back to the garden state, not just for New Jersey, but for everybody, that we should have a garden world, a garden state. Our world is not for sale, and we have the power to change, and we can rewrite history. And I think that was the theme that we heard, that we all have the power to change, and we're all here together doing this, and we can rewrite history. So thank you, everyone, for bringing this all together and to continue that momentum of working together. Thank you.
So now we're going to open up for questions and comments from the audience, and we have a microphone. So please speak into it, because that way it'll get covered by the live stream and everyone will hear you. Si hay preguntas o comentarios por parte de la audiencia, por favor avísenos, porque tenemos micrófono y puedan hablar en su idioma.
Hi, I'm Sherry from the Land Worker Center. We're here in alliance with Global Justice Alliance, Grassroots Global Justice Alliance. I just had a comment about the first speaker. We also had an incinerator in Coconut Grove in Miami. It was called Old Smoky. It was opened up in 1925, and the residents, fought for. There was too much asthma and high rate of cancer, and later, through the court, it was shut down in 1970. But now we have the issue that there are high levels of contaminants in the playgrounds and high level of cancer rate. So we're pretty much organizing members of the communities to work together and see how we can shut this down all over the country, because it's affecting our residents, it's affecting our children, and if our children cannot go and play at a park, or we cannot drink from waters of the river or the lakes. Not only that, but in Fort Lauderdale, under the bridge, there are a lot of tires just under the water, and it's just ridiculous. So, you know, we want to strive for a better earth, and I think by working together and coming together as communities, like we did with the march, and the frontline communities with our indigenous and the youth. The young man was the young guy. He's very remarkable. I don't see him, but yes. You're great. You're great. Continue doing what you're doing. I have a 13-year-old, and you're our future, so great job.
Quiero hablar en español, a ver si es posible hacer la traducción. ¿Sí?
I would like to speak in Spanish. I'll translate.
Y en primer lugar, pues estoy muy sorprendido y muy agradecido por todo lo que se ha dicho.
And first of all, I would like to say I'm very surprised and very, very pleased by everything people are saying.
Yo vengo de México, de Chiapas.
I come from Chiapas in Mexico.
Y normalmente estamos pensando que nosotros tenemos los problemas.
And usually we think of ourselves as the people with problems.
Y al escuchar aquí los problemas que están adentro del país,
But learning about the problems inside this country today,
me parece como que el mundo es el que está en problemas, no es solo el lugares así como Chiapas, como México, como los pueblos indígenas.
now I see, it looks to me like the whole world's got problems, not just places like Chiapas, Mexico, the indigenous communities.
Para mí el descubrimiento más importante es que estamos en un solo lugar, ¿verdad? En un solo planeta.
For me, that's a very huge discovery to really understand that we're all part of only one planet.
Pero también al mismo tiempo de encontrar la fuerza de la esperanza y de las soluciones.
At the same time, it gives me strength of hope and solutions.
Porque el joven que nos platicó su pensamiento me parece así como que surge de la construcción de muchos años, ¿verdad? Porque es joven, pero está mirando el futuro de una manera muy limpia, muy clara.
I want to talk about the young gentleman who gave his talk about the future, and I mean that it's like the work of many, many years and the proposal he is making for the future.
Y no es algo que es solamente, diríamos, propio, sino que yo considero que es el nuevo amanecer de muchos pensamientos y de que nos está exigiendo esta construcción desde nosotros mismos.
And it's not just speaking for one's self or him speaking for himself, but talking about the new dawn of new thought and things that are going to be happening for all of us in the future.
Me gustó mucho eso, lo que dice, no quiero que venirles a decir qué van a hacer, sino darles mi experiencia de que mi mismo pensamiento y mi misma vida está dedicada desde los 6 años en esta construcción.
I really liked it when he said, I didn't come here to tell you what to say, but my own work, my own thinking since I was 6 years old, all revolved around this.
Y yo creo que eso es el momento actual, ¿verdad? Poder aprender de todos los procesos, de todos los pueblos, de todas las esperanzas que están surgiendo en el mundo.
And I feel that is the moment we are in, where we're learning from all the experiences of the different peoples and in all the different people around us for the future, for what we're trying to do.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, pues nada más quería decir muchas gracias por lo que dijiste. Mi papá es de Xochimilco, en México.
Thank you for all your words, what you said. My father's from Xochimilco in Mexico.
Y pues tienes razón que sí hay muchos problemas por todo el planeta.
And you're right, there are many problems all over the planet.
Y pues para mí como mis mis raíces vienen de México.
And for me, my roots are in Mexico.
Entonces, como para ver gente de todo el planeta haciendo cosas para crear un mundo mejor.
And we're working with people all over the world to create a better world.
Y pues nada más quería decirte muchas gracias por estar aquí y que a lo mejor puedes llevar un poquito de los mensajes de toda esta gente a México, a los indígenas, a las comunidades ahí y a los jóvenes de mi gente, de nuestra gente.
And I want to thank you for being here, and I just hope you can take our message there to Mexico, to the indigenous peoples, to the young people there, our message.
Y pues a ver si pronto podemos ir a visitar, a crear un movimiento también ahí, porque pues en países con menos dinero también es mucho más difícil con estos problemas. Entonces, pues muchas gracias por todo.
And he said, to Mexico, which is my people, and I hope we can go there soon and create a movement. Thank you.
I just wanted to let people think about what we don't normally think of as an environmental issue, which is the family system and things like domestic violence. Young people need resources in order to be able to speak up, and if you don't have a supportive family environment, you're not going to be speaking up, and it gets to the point where it's the most vulnerable that are being compromised, and when you don't have a supportive family environment, then you absolutely have nowhere left to go. And so I just wanted to point and share that. Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Jet. I am very empowered by all the messages that were brought here forth by all the speakers, especially the youth. It keeps me going. I just want to encourage everyone to take these messages back to their communities, take them back to their peers, take them back to their friends and to their families. What's going to be the most important is that we get folks activated by giving them access to language about privilege, about environmental racism. I would not be here had not been for the involvement of my leaders in the community who looked like me, who spoke like me, who understood what I come from, who knew how to push back against my apathy because I didn't know that I had power. So oftentimes in our disenfranchised communities, we don't believe that we have power, but that's because we do not have access to the language. So the first step is to be able to give this messaging to our peers, to our families, to our friends, despite what we might believe that they don't understand, because that's our responsibility. We'll be able to galvanize so many more folks in the movement if we give them access to this language and we let them know that these aren't barriers that have been put up by us. These are barriers that have been put up by people who have no compassion, no understanding, and no cultural like leverage where we're from, and that's going to be the most value. So I just want to encourage everyone to continue to do the work that they're doing, but to also remember to spread the word as far and wide as they can to the people that are in their communities.
Hey everybody, my name is Rosalind. My heart's beating very fast because I feel like what I'm about to say is very authentic to me and just how I feel. And I feel like it's why this movement is starting, especially on the hearts and on the backs of our indigenous relatives and our family that are now rising up in this movement. The thing that I see, coming into this movement, realizing climate justice in the hub of all, social, environmental, racial, just human issues and concerns we've been dealing with I see it as the place where our indigenous who have such a connection spiritually, who have not been extracted culturally yet from our earth, from where we stem from, are rising up to talk to us as people. Because what I see is that, yes, we're here and we see all the problems that are going on in our world. We see the fact that we do need to get back to the land. We do need to be here at these rallies, at these public demonstrations, civil disobedience actions, all of that. We see that need, but our community, they're living to survive. They aren't here, right now because they're still at the 9-to-5s. They're still working to feed their children, to put bread on the table, to do what they have to do. but they don't realize the amount of extraction that's actually happening to them simultaneously with our earth. No one talks about the extraction that's going on with people, the deep healing that needs to happen, because hurt people hurt people. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the capitalist structure that we've been under, the paradigm that we are all under, is the idea that we have to go find something outside of ourselves to fill those voids. That's what's happening with our earth. We have to go deep, dig inside, penetrate our earth. We have to extract from our mother. We have to take from our natural resources to feed ourselves, because that's just what we learn. That's what creates the revenue. That's what creates the growth. That's what we learn. That's what creates life for us, survival. What can I take from myself? What can I take from someone else? What can I bring to myself that I don't have yet, that I can't use within myself, that I can't be empowered by? And that's what I feel like the youth are generating within us. It's because we can't go out and consume. It's not the fact that we don't want to. We want to be able to provide for ourselves within this social paradigm that we're in, but the thing is that we can't. We don't have those resources. We don't have that type of infrastructure in our brain. Well, yes, I'm just going to go and take. We rely on each other now. We rely on the spirit that keeps us together. We rely on each other to build, to bridge, to create, to unite, to grow, to watch those seeds inside of ourselves, raise from seed to plant, to watch that within ourselves, within each other, within our community. So it's just this dual extraction that's going on, spiritually with us, mentally with us, the appropriate images that we think we have to live by, that we have to hold ourselves up to, and the same thing that's happening to the place that we all reside, our mother. And she can't speak for herself. We have to speak for her, and that's why she's calling to us, to talk to each other, to realize that we all are relatives, that we all are in this struggle together, and to put away our differences and the things that socially concern us, as a people individually, and use those things to bridge, to grow, to use the resources we have in ourselves, our voice, our minds, our spirits, our potential, and to bridge those things so we can see, the earth grow. We can see the future grow for our children, children, 7 generations, 7 by 7. How does it go? So I love you guys. All right, that's all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Saman, and I'm inspired by the sister's words. My heart, too, is beating fast, and I'm honored to be in the presence of so many people who do so much to engage others. I had a thought about the time where we were, I'm sorry, I'm not a scientist, but I'm just going to speak in kind of pseudoscientific. I don't know, when we were 500,000 roaming around the desert plains, and it didn't matter how we consumed, right? We just moved on. Nature was so huge and immense that we just did, and before we knew it, even as hard as they tried to destroy the earth, they couldn't, their footprint would disappear the next year. And that's thousands, millions, I don't know how long, of a process of behavior, of being, that is in us, that is in our DNA. So we're really we have an immense challenge ahead of us. Our mind is now leading us in this way, and we know we can think about being better. We understand it now. We push against the boundaries of the earth itself. So for me, as I wrap my mind around this, and that keeps me up at night, I just always go back to what is my personal commitment? What am I doing to build a lifestyle where I'm not driving, where I'm not, my happiness doesn't depend on plastic that's built somewhere else. So I appreciate everyone for being here, and I just want to put that thought in your head. Thank you.
She's first, and you're next.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is MMJ Okun. I'm from Nigeria. I live and work in the Niger Delta region, where the extractive activity is going on. And I am very impressed, and I feel encouraged by the testimonies of everybody who have spoken, because that is exactly the same thing that we are experiencing in the Niger Delta region. And we have also realized that these corporations don't really they are not sensitive to the impact of their activities on the indigenous people. They are only interested in their business and the profit that they are making from their business. And apart from the impact of their activities on the people, they are also practicing divide and rule, causing conflict among different groups in the communities. And this conflict is adding the negative impact to the already devastated environment that we are experiencing. The extractive industry in Nigeria has displaced the people, especially the women, from their traditional means of earning income, which is fishing and farming, because oil is spilled into the rivers and also into the farmlands. And women are doubly oppressed because women are oppressed by the activities of these extractive industries, and they are also oppressed by the traditional practices, which does not really encourage women to speak out about their conditions. So my organization is working to empower women to speak up and talk about how these issues are affecting them. I am happy I'm here. I've learned from other people. I feel encouraged. I was part of the People's March on Sunday, and I was overwhelmed by the number of people that came out on the street to speak against issues of climate crisis, because in the Niger Delta region, we are really being directly affected by issues of climate change. I want to encourage all of you. I will take the messages back home, and I'm also going to encourage the women I work with that we are not alone, that there are other people who are sharing in the problems and challenges that we have, and that other voices, there are collective energies all around the world, and we have hope that with our collective energies and actions that things will change for the better. Thank you.
So we have one more speaker, and then one more comment, and then a speaker right now.
You know, the power is living in a global village. And so we are really powerful. My name is Lillian, and I'm from the village of Harlem. And so, these conversations, the day after, the days after, the months after, and the years after, it's really the responsibility of our citizenship in the world. And we are so powerful. And I just wanted to make a comment regarding Chiapas. Chiapas has a powerful history of activism and inspiration. So, we're all in this together, and, it's sink or swim, and we're choosing to swim. We are powerful, and I think, we should be grateful for each other, and the young people, because once we go, I get comfort from all these young people, because we're not going to be here forever, and I think that they're really going to do better than we have done. So, thank you.
Okay, we need a mic. Bring the mic.
I just want to say to the corporations and Wall Street, money is not more important than quality of life.
Thank you. So we have another speaker. Some have been lost. We're still in good time for our program. So I'd like to introduce Onika Abraham, and she will tell you about herself. Thank you.
Good morning, all. It's such a real pleasure and joy and honor to be here with so many people who I think are of like mind around climate change in our communities today. So I stand before you as a grower. I am a grower, I'm an educator, I'm an advocate, and I'm a New Yorker, a native New Yorker. In fact, I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in this very city. In the 1980s, I don't know, you look a little younger than me, but 1980s is when I was growing up on the Lower East Side, and that was a period of a lot of disinvestment in our community, and it changed our neighborhood into a patchwork of vacant lots. But it was also a period when our communities came together and rallied together and reclaimed those lots and created the largest network of community gardens in this nation. I remember these gardens being tended by people of color, people who, like my parents, had grown up on farms in the Caribbean and Latin America and parts of Asia and throughout America's rural South. They planted flowers, herbs, vegetables, and improbable orchards where there was once rubble. They often brought traditional, sustainable approaches to growing from their countries of origin. They brought natural fertilizers, green manures, rainwater catchment systems, and they really recreated our blighted landscape into their own image, an image of self-reliant, empowered, and connected communities of color. And they left behind, and they wanted to reestablish this in this new environment of New York City. So as a child of the 80s myself, I'm the beneficiary of these urban gardens, and I learned from their cultural and intellectual diversity and was inspired to place agriculture in the center of my own life as an adult. So now I've worked on organic farms. I grow fruit and vegetables in Brooklyn. I support my local farmers in my community, and I'm a founding member of an organization called Black Urban Growers, who you may or may not have heard of. But this is an organization full of volunteers, volunteer-run, and it's committed to building networks and community empowerment and support of growers in both rural and urban communities. Just as a little plug, the Black Urban Growers is having our Black Farmers and Urban Gardeners Conference this year in Detroit, Michigan, October 17th through 19th. Check out the website, come. This is an opportunity for us to pull together as people of color and share our knowledge around food and farm issues. Sharing knowledge from diverse communities is critical to developing an urban agriculture that works for multicultural cities like New York, like my own city here. I now serve as director of Farm School NYC, which offers comprehensive professional training in urban agriculture for adults in New York City. Farm School NYC was founded by a collaborative of farmers and growers and food justice advocates and organizations just like Just Food, which is a community organization based here in New York City. And it's a community organization that deals with really bringing food access to people of limited means within this city. Farm School NYC's mission is to educate a community of urban growers who are ready to build self-reliant communities and inspire positive action around food, social, and racial justice issues in this city. In short, our mission is to carry on what those pioneering urban farmers and gardeners did in my youth in our community. And I've seen, like many of you here probably, what urban agriculture can do. You know, I've seen urban agriculture feed families in need, provide fresh, healthy food in areas where our food system has failed us. I've seen urban agriculture revitalize neighborhoods where redlining and disinvestment have left gaping holes in our cityscape. I've experienced how urban agriculture can connect people to the land and to the people who work the land, both in their communities and in the larger rural food shed that feeds us. I also know the havoc that agriculture can wreak on our environment when not done responsibly. Industrial agriculture, with its dependence on monocultures, on fossil fuels, on deforestation, all of those things make it responsible for at least 40% of the global greenhouse gas emissions in the world, which trigger climate change. That's why at Farm School NYC, we are grounded in sustainable agricultural practices. We seek to learn from traditional indigenous practices that honor our land and its soil, and that work with the cycles of nature rather than try to dominate them. Equatorial places populated by people of African, Indian, Asian, and indigenous descent are disproportionately impacted by climate change. And that's why, for me, it's inspiring to know that so many of the agricultural solutions to climate change originate in traditional practices from these regions. The knowledge of a more sustainable and culturally respectful agriculture is already here within the city. I've seen it working in our communities for decades now. It's the job of educators and activists and growers like me to harness this knowledge, to share this knowledge, to build upon this knowledge. And I really do believe that the future of our communities and our cities and our planet depend on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Onika, and I'm proud to say I am a student at the New York City School of Urban Agriculture. Even in our busy lives, they make it so that working adults can get that certificate and become, powerful farmers and growers.